Miro Polo, Sweep Out, the Broom Boom Countdown. A spoofig.
Sweep out!
This is episode 3, First Attempts. What happened until now? I'm Alfred Mayer. Yes, a boring name, I know. Everyone around me thought so too, which is why most people call me Alf. I work in a high-rise office building for the equipment department of the World Institute for Space, Space Exploration and Space Policy. The equipment department buys what spaceships are equipped with before they embark on space expeditions: food, consumer electronics, vehicles and airplanes if landings on planets are planned, building materials if stations have to be set up, rescue equipment, medical technology, medicine and much more. And I'm responsible for cleaning machines. These are highly complicated devices that carry out all cleaning work in spaceships fully automatically and without the involvement of the crew. Lately, however, there are plans to save money, and of all things with these cleaning machines. The management of the Institute is considering letting the crews of the spaceships do the cleaning works themselves, using equipment that must have been common more than 100 years ago, with such strange-sounding names are brooms, scrubbers or vacuum cleaners. I have now been delegated to work on a project and have a research assignment. I'm supposed to test the extent to which these cleaning utensils are suitable for use on longer space expeditions. Later, among other things, I should even write operating instructions and teach the astronauts how to use them. But everything is still top secret, so don't tell anyone else.
Sleep out!
Hey, before we start, look! Anywhere down here, you can subscribe to my channel. This is a small click for a man, but a giant leap. Well, you know. Episode 3. First Attempts. My first task in the new spaceship cleaning project was to find a manufacturer of the historical devices. Well, that was done quickly, and the first batch was also ordered. A few days later, I caused quite a stir among my colleagues in the open plan office. I received a first delivery. Deliveries directly to the office were actually not common. Things that we ordered from the equipment department usually went to the so-called outfitter workshop, where they were assembled if necessary and later installed or loaded into the spaceships. But that wasn't what drew attention. After unpacking the first packages, it was above all the content that contributed to the perplexed astonishment and made me the focus of collegial interest.
Sleep out!
I had to explain what it was and that I had received a research assignment to test these extraordinary-looking instruments. Initially, the willingness to help me was unusually high. Before long, a few colleagues were around the open plan office with vacuums, brooms and scrubbers, trying to do whatever they thought needed to be done with those machines. Well, after losing 2 monitors and a flood in the office kitchen, all devices were again on or around my desk, and my colleagues kept a generous safety distance.
Sleep out!
My own attempts did not go any better. I gave up my first attempt to use a broom when a desk lamp fell and the shelf tipped over. I was only able to escape from the area of impact at the last moment. Reminding myself that the project was supposed to be top secret anyway, I armed myself with a selection of the new cleaning tools to try out at my home office. I hope getting valuable suggestions from my household robot. After all, cleaning was his specialty. Sorry for my terrible English.
Sleep out!
Once again, after all, cleaning was his specialty. The lady behind the counter in the entrance hall of the institute looked strange when I passed her on the way to the exit. I must have looked like a ghostbuster with my vacuum hose around my neck.
Sleep out!
So when I got home and unloaded, I first tried to have a conversation with my household robot. He was unexpectedly patient in explaining what he was doing and how. But his technology seemed different than I could have applied to handling my cleaning equipment in any way. Only when vacuuming there seemed to be parallels. I wanted to use that and first see how he did it. Since, like every day, he had already cleaned the house in my absence, I sprayed some soil from the garden on my living room carpet and waited for his reaction. My hope was that he would recognize the contamination and start his cleaning program again. Unfortunately, it didn't happen that way. What I hadn't factored in was a feature of my household robot that I had never challenged before. He was able to recognize dangerous situations of various kinds and react accordingly. For the first time, seems there is a need for him to use this ability. He apparently considered my behavior of intentionally spilling dirt over the freshly cleaned carpet to be so abnormal that he classified me as presumably seriously ill and called emergency services.
Sleep out!
Explaining to the rescue service, who arrived a short time later, that I actually only wanted to try out a cleaning process that actually no longer existed because they had been replaced by more modern processes 100 years ago, was even more difficult than I had feared. I was only just able to avoid being admitted to the psychiatric ward of the central hospital.
Sleep out!
Yes, I had to turn off my household robot for the rest of the evening. I couldn't convince him that everything was fine with me, and he would probably have also classified my subsequent actions as total abnormal. And I would have ended up in the hospital or, in the worst case, in a detox cell. In hindsight, I'm no longer sure that wouldn't have been even better. But afterwards, you are always smarter.
Sleep out!
I had already lost too much time that evening, so now I had to be quick. First, I tried to get a vacuum cleaner going. I thought I had a rough idea of how such a device worked. I managed to assemble the vacuum cleaner ready for use and turn it on. After a while, most of the garden soil was actually removed from my carpet. But I noticed how an initially inexplicable fog began to spread in the living room. This was probably because I had some parts left over after assembling the vacuum cleaner. How it became clear, they would have had an important function. But I didn't want to let that slow me down and roll the carpet aside to test the broom and mop. It turned out that my household robot apparently very rarely worked under the carpet. But what the heck? Dirt under the carpet and dust in the air, the conditions of using brooms and scrubbers couldn't be better. I started out in a positive mood. Sweeping, in the meantime, I found out that this technical term for using a broom worked even better now than in the office. I was able to catch a beautiful vase, an old family heirloom, when it fell. So, no losses at first. This only kicked in when I started mopping. Mopping, as I had already learned, was the correct term for using a mop, rag and bucket of water. I dipped the rag in the water, wrapped it around the mop, I saw that in a historical video, and off we went. A little later, however, I was forced to stop all activities with the mop. The water level in the living room threatened to exceed the level of my slippers. By the time I got the flooding under control in my living room, it was already downing the next morning. Unfortunately, the floor covering had suffered from my treatment. I found it out when I slipped on the slope of a hill that was probably formed under the influence of the water and did nothing serious to me only because my head hit another bubble in the floor.
Sleep out!
Yeah, when I unrolled the carpet again and rearranged my seating to cover the damage, it all looked like nothing had happened. Well, almost. I didn't get to sleep that night. That was one of the reasons why I couldn't believe my eyes when I reached the premises of the Space Institute the next morning. Large banners had been put up on some buildings and I was handed a leaflet. Employees had gathered in several places. "We protest against the Institute's saving planes," I read on a banner that someone had posted at the side of the road. Another one I passed carried a picture. Under the heading "Our New Work Clothes" was seen one of those button-front nightgown-like garments I'd seen on Potter's monitor the day before. "Former servant of science, today cleaner," stated on banner that spanned the entire facade of a building. "Hey, the Astros are totally out of control," said a colleague from another department who rode the elevator with me. By Astros, he meant the astronauts. They are protesting against any plans that presumably provide that they should take over the cleaning of the spaceships themselves with her own hands without computers and machines. "Oh shit! How did it leak out?"
Sleep out.
I read a text on the leaflet. They demanded the immediate withdrawal of the savings planes from 12 points to win and a plane to equip future spaceships with prunes and scrubbers, and threatened to otherwise refuse to take part in the next expeditions. Oh, now that really looked like trouble. "Mayor, this is treason!" Potter yelled when he saw me coming. He had already been waiting for me at my desk. "This will have big consequences. And Mayor, hurry up with your job. We need results. It's the only way out of this mess." With these words, he ran past me and disappeared into the elevator. "Crisis meeting," my desk neighbor whispered in explanation. Trying not to be alarmed, I set about documenting my first broom and scrubber experience. Of course, I couldn't keep up that for long. But more on that in the next episode. I'm supposed to prove things. I'm curious myself how this will turn out. For today, I say goodbye and look forward to seeing you again in the next episode. Until then, bye.